my name is Linda Carabaras and welcome to my kitchen. And yes, you've guessed it, we're going to be doing some baking today. And what are we going to be baking? America's favorite bar cookie, chocolate fudge brownies. And these are really going to taste nice and chocolatey and fudgy the way they should be. And a lot of times when I go out and I taste brownies, you don't have to tell me that they're from a mix for me to know that. It's because, you know, I taste them and I don't taste any chocolate. I think, where's the chocolate? Where's the chocolate flavor? And remember the commercial years ago with the lady when she looks at the burger bun and there's a little piece of beef in it and she says, where's the beef? Where's the beef? Well, that's the way I feel about brownies when I have them out. I think, where's the chocolate? Where's the chocolate flavor? So, you know, why is that? Well, I've got a mix right here in front of me, a popular one, and I noticed that this was the case with all the mixes that I looked at. And they've got the cocoa processed with alkali in it, but they're also using hydrogenated oils like cottonseed and canola oil, and that just doesn't give you the same mouthfeel and richness that a homemade brownie does that's made with real butter. So that's the first difference. The other, again, as usual, artificial flavor. We're not going to have any of that in the brownies I'm going to prepare for you today. And again, with the mix, you've still got to add your water, oil, and eggs with a couple extra steps. This is a very simple brownie mix. You're going to come up with a product that's superior to this package mix, and it's really going to taste like a brownie. I'm going to show you another type of brownie, a 1-bowl graham cracker brownie. That's excellent. And then I'm going to show you a blender icing to put on the brownies if you want to make them even richer and more chocolatey, which is just the way I love it. Who doesn't like chocolate, right? So, as you can see, we've mise en place to prepare the brownies. Let me get rid of this because we certainly won't be using this today. And I'm going to get ready to start preparing our brownies. All right, the first thing, of course, that you want to do is preheat your oven to 325 degrees for this particular brownie. We're going to put them at 325, and I'm going to prepare my pan. So always have your pan prepared. I'm just going to use a spray shortening along the edges, but of course you can use butter or margarine, whatever you want to use to grease the sides of the pan. And then for easy release, and you've seen me use this before, parchment paper, and all I did was take the parchment, trace the pan over the parchment, and I cut out a piece, and I'm going to put that right in the bottom of my brownie pan. No need to grease the bottom of the pan, just put the parchment right on there after you spray the sides. Okay, so our pan is all prepared, ready to go. So let me come over here. And for this recipe, again, you never want to overmix brownies, so a hand mixer is perfectly fine. And I just have to tell you, this one right here, I got from a group of ladies with the first job I ever got right out of college. And I probably had this 25 years. So, you know, this is fine. A little hand mixer like this will be fine for the brownies. So let me put this in. And I'm just going to plug this in and I'll be right back. Let's see. Yep. And here we go. And first thing, 1 1/4 cups plus 1 tablespoon of sugar. But don't worry, you don't have to write this down right now. Just go on to my website. All the recipes are on there, again, linked with the video, www.lindas-kitchen.com. So let me put this to the side. And again, we're going to put our sugar in the bowl. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do is melt my butter with 4 squares of chocolate. You want 1 stick of unsalted butter. And again, unsalted, why? Because it's just the most buttery flavor that you can get. And that's why you want to use unsalted butter in baking. So let me unwrap this. And I'm going to put this in my microwave. And I'm going to power it down a little bit. Okay. Oh, I've got my scrap bowl over here. Remember the scrap bowl? And let me get my towel. My microwave is 850 watts, which is a powerful one, so I'm going to power it down to maybe 70% to melt this. But in a smaller microwave, you can use high. Just I put in the chocolate and butter all together and kind of underdo it because you don't want to scorch your chocolate. So just for ease and preparation, 4 1-ounce squares of unsweetened chocolate. And these come 8 squares to a box, and you can keep these up to a couple of years. Cool, dry place to store the chocolate. And again, sometimes if you store it a while, it might get a little grayish look to it. It's perfectly fine. It's just the cocoa butter coming to the surface of the chocolate. And again, this is another thing that makes brownies taste more chocolatey other than the mix with the cocoa in it. The unsweetened chocolate is made with cocoa butter. It's left in it, so it gives it that velvety look and flavor. And I like the way I read recently in one of my Food Lover's Companion, you know, when more cocoa butter is added, it gives chocolate that voluptuous feel and look to it. And I kind of like that analogy. So here's my scrap bowl. Let me put this in the microwave. And again, the other thing too, you don't have to melt it all the way, and I'll show you that as you stir it in there, the rest of the chocolate will melt. So let's put that in. I'm going to start that at 1 minute at 70% power. And again, each microwave is different. Again, just underdo it a little. Don't overdo it initially, and you'll be fine. The other thing you could do, if you don't have a microwave, a little heavy pan is fine. Put your chocolate and butter in that and just put on the lowest heat on the stove, the lowest flame, or, you know, if you've got electric, just very low, and watch it and continue to stir it. And just as it gets almost to that melting point where all the chocolate is going to be melted, you just take it off, continue to stir it, and that will melt the chocolate the rest of the way. So we've got our sugar in there, and let me get our eggs prepared. We've got we're going to use 3 eggs, and I always like breaking my eggs into a cup like this so I can just pour them one at a time, because that's how you want to add them in the recipe. And again, break them on here. I always use a piece of wax paper. That way you don't get shell in the egg. You don't want to break it on the side of a dish or whatever, because then it pushes the egg in the shell into the egg. So we'll go like this. Okay. Again, my scrap bowl, 3 eggs. And one of the things too that you might want to keep in mind, this recipe calls for 3 large eggs, but if you have extra large, you can use those. That's just going to make your brownies a little bit higher and a little more cake-like, as well as your baking times. Don't worry about it if you over bake them a little bit. It will make them you know, they're still going to come out fudgy, but it's going to make a cakier consistency and perhaps a little bit chewier. So, you know, as you continue to bake, you will learn, you know, what kind of consistency you want. And the great thing is, it's still going to be edible. So you need to experiment a little, but this recipe is just terrific for the beginner as far as making a nice fudgy brownie. So let's see how my butter and chocolate have come out. Oh, okay. Now see, the butter is melted. And I happen to have a little whisk right here, but you don't need this. You can use a spoon to, yeah, it looks like my chocolate's still got a ways to go. So that was a minute. So I'm going to put it in another minute. Okay. And we'll just wait for that chocolate. And in the meantime, I'm going to measure out 3/4 of a cup of flour. Now that's the other thing. If you want to make extra fudgy brownies, you can actually cut it back to a 1/2 cup of flour using the same recipe, and you'll have nice fudgy brownies, real fudgy. Okay, so try the recipe this way initially, and then you can cut back, or the next time you make it, this calls for 3/4 of a cup, do 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons. Again, it's just a great recipe to try and fool around with your different textures and all on the brownies. So You know, I was also reading something about chocolate the other day that I guess the Aztecs were the first one to experiment with chocolate or discover chocolate. And the Aztec king Montezuma, pardon me, because he thought that chocolate was an aphrodisiac, used to drink up to 50 goblets of chocolate liqueur, which was extremely bitter at that time. Drink up to 50 goblets a day. So another good reason for chocolate, right? So let me pull that out of the mic. So now we've got our floured measure, our eggs ready. I'm going to use a ½ teaspoon of vanilla, and this is melted. We're all set. Okay, this feels hot. So again, the chocolate's not melted all the way, but I don't want to risk scorching it. So what I'm going to do is just stir it around with this. Okay, and that's going to continue to melt, and that's important. Okay, see the chocolate's continuing to melt in there. Oh, yeah. Oh, I wish you could smell this. Oh. See, there's little pieces of the chocolate left. There, okay. Oh, does that look nice and smooth, huh? Be careful when you pull this out of the microwave, too. Sometimes the bottom will be very, very hot. Okay. Oh, look at that. Let me get a spoon here and I'll show you. Also, another point that you might want to make is if you're just melting chocolate on its own, don't get any liquid, any water in this when it's at this stage or it'll seize up. But, doesn't that look delicious? So this is a little bit hot. So at this point, I'm going to let it cool about 3 minutes, and then we're going to continue with the recipe, and we'll be done. All right, it's been about 3 minutes because you just don't want the chocolate and butter mixture super hot. So look at this. I remember when I was watching America's Test Kitchen one time, and they were making brownies, and the woman putting the recipe together said, "Oh, I think I'll swim in that." And that's exactly what I'd like to do right now. So now let's add this slightly cooled mixture to our sugar. So now can you see already how this is going to make such a big difference when you're using real chocolate? Now I know it might be tough, but I've read that chocolate is like when you make a good sauce, it always tastes better the next day because it takes the day to set up. I know that's going to be very difficult, but you might have 1 or 2 brownies today, but wait until tomorrow and they're going to taste even better. So, all right, I've got my chocolate mixture, chocolate butter in the bowl, and now we're going to, let me put this on low. I'm going to mix the chocolate and sugar together. Shut this off. ½ teaspoon of vanilla. Then we're going to add our eggs one at a time till they're velvety after each egg. Then just mix in our flour and we will be done. Okay, put that there. Now again, one at a time, the eggs, and I'm going to bump this up to medium. And one more egg. Let me scrape the bowl. Oh, look at that, huh? Can you tell already this just looks so much different from a mix? And oh, it smells. You can actually smell the chocolate. Okay. That's all you want to do. Got my wax paper over there. Now I'm going to kick this up to high. Oh yeah, look at. There you go. Now, important part. This mixer is actually a little bit, I think the low is a little bit quick, so I'm going to be very careful with this. When you're adding your flour, this is where you don't want to overmix because you're not making a cake here, you're making brownies. So I'm going to add about half the flour. Just until it's mixed in. That's all you want to do because we're going to mix the rest of this by hand, okay, after this next addition. Again, and your mixer may be a little bit slower than this, so now I'm going to stop it when it gets to this, and then we're going to mix the rest of it in by hand. So, let's put this there, and take your spatula and just mix the rest of the flour in by hand. Now at this point, if you wanted to add chopped nuts, you'd add it right in, right here. Just fold it right in. Oh, look at this. Look at how velvety and smooth and you can smell that chocolate. Let me grab my pan, my prepared pan. Okay. Oh, yeah. Just shake it around a little. Actually, let me use my spatula. Just smooth it out. Oh, yeah. Oh, here we go. That's one for the cook. Shake this around a little, even it out. I'm putting this in a 325-degree oven for 30-35 minutes. I'll show you what that should look like when it comes out. And in the meantime, I'm going to mise en place for the icing for these. Be right back. Hello, now we're ready to make our icing that we're going to put on the cooled brownies. You've got to let the brownies cool completely before you use this icing. Another important thing too, you don't need to, nor do you want to refrigerate the brownies after they're done. This icing cannot be refrigerated or it will crystallize. I've melted 1.5 squares, again, of unsweetened chocolate. That's what's in here. And actually, I did it on high the last time for this in my microwave, and it was 1.5 minutes. So that's what it looks like. Just cooled it slightly, that's it, just a minute or two. Evaporated milk, yes, evaporated, not condensed. And let's see, we want 1/4 cup. I like these cups I got before. They're marked on the side and inside the cup, so I know that I'm pouring 1/4 cup of the evaporated milk. And then here's another interesting thing with this recipe. 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. Yes, granulated, not confectioner sugar. So this is what we're going to do. 1/3 cup of the granulated. Put it right in the blender jar. And unfortunately, that is the only way this can be made, is in a blender. But I'm sure most of you out there have a blender. And again, it's just got to be a small blender. That's all you need for this recipe. So let me put this aside. We add the 1/4 cup of evaporated milk into the blender jar, and then we add our 1.5 squares of melted chocolate. Okay. And now we're going to put this on the base. We're going to put it on medium-low speed, medium to medium-low, and we're going to let it go about 1 minute, 45 seconds to a minute until the sound changes. That's it. So I'm going to put this up here, and we're going to wait for the sound to change. I'll see if you can detect that. You hear that now? We're going to let this set about half an hour, 45 minutes, and it will thicken up, and then by the time the brownies are completely cooled, this will be good to just spread right over the top. And let me pull my brownies out of the oven and I'll show you what they should look like. They've been in there now 35 minutes. And again at 325. And oh, I think that's going to be perfect. Oh, yes. See what the top should look like. And let's test it with a toothpick, because that's another way to check your brownies. Just make sure when you pull out the toothpick, it's not syrupy. It should have a moist crumb on it, and these are going to sink a little bit, so don't be concerned about that. And I can just smell that chocolate in there. So we're going to go right in the center, and there you go, a couple of moist crumbs. Again, if it came out with syrupy batter, it wouldn't be done yet, but that's just the way it should be. That was 35 minutes at 325, but as you know, ovens vary. So again, always when you're baking or cooking, go by the way it should look and you know, the feel of it. And you can feel the top, and that's pretty much done. But again, the toothpick method with brownies is a perfect way to check them. So I'm going to put this over on the stove. I'm going to let this sit. I'll be back to you in a few minutes while we'll put together our graham cracker brownies, 1 bowl graham cracker brownies. These are awesome, and they're great served warm, the graham cracker brownies. And let me mise en place for that, and I'll let this cool, and we'll finish this up later. All right, mise en place for graham cracker brownies, which is like a s'mores in a brownie. Compliments of my friend June for this recipe. So hi June. And this always is a big hit at parties. Super easy. You ready for this one? 1 2/3 cup graham cracker crumbs. 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts. 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. Just mix that in a little bit just to distribute it a little bit evenly. 1 can of condensed milk, not evaporated, again, condensed. It's already got the sugar and everything in it, so let's pour that right in. There we go. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Done. Let's mix it all up. I got a big wooden spoon here. I'll show you how it's going to be really thick. Hence the glove. I'm going to show you where I'm going to use that in a minute. Remember the Michael Jackson? I wonder if he can cook. I don't think so, huh? Okay. There we go. See how thick? Use a big spoon. Oh yeah, it's like cement. You're mixing cement here. It's not going to taste like cement though when these are done, so they're just going to puff up a little. There you go, done. Let's get our prepared pan. Again, I put parchment in the bottom. And okay. Just scoop this out of the bowl. And again, if you're going to leave them in the pan and cut them out, just, you know, put butter on the bottom or any kind of oil or spray. Just spray the whole pan. Okay, so I'm going to show you how thick that is. Just kind of move it over with the glove. And again, these are the vinyl gloves that I get at any one of the drugstores will have them, and I love these. God, I use these so much in cooking. There you go. Just kind of spread it out somewhat evenly. Take off my glove. Ta-da! Done. In the oven, 30-35 minutes till it puffs up a little bit. It gets light brown. Oh, now these you got to serve a little bit warm. They're going to be chewy and gooey and yummy. So popping this back in the oven. I'll see you back here when we're ready to plate our brownies. These have been out of the oven a few minutes, And this is what they should look like. See the way the top is nice and brown? And now I'm going to put these back on the stove, let these cool some more while I finish my chocolate brownies. And while those are best served warm, I mean, they're great also when they're at room temperature. So again, but I'm just making the point that, oh, they're the best when they've been out of the oven about an hour. And of course, you can always put them in the microwave after to warm them up a little. But anyway, let's continue with our chocolate brownies. So I put the parchment on the bottom. I'm going to take this out. Now, see how nicely this came out? And again, when it's warm or just out of the oven, just take a butter knife and run it along the sides. Loosen up the sides while it's still hot or warm. Then you just take the parchment, pull it off the bottom like that, and put it on here because we're going to frost these. Okay? Now, remember our icing that came out of the blender? See how it's set up? That was about an hour ago, hour and a half. Again, you want these completely cool before you put this icing on. And again, if you're using the icing, don't refrigerate these, but I don't think they're going to be around that long anyway, do you? But see how nice and velvety, smooth, and chocolatey that came out? Oh, this is so sinfully rich. So I'm going to take a little spatula, put this right over the top like this. Oh, let's see how this goes. Yes. Oh. Yep. Actually, I think this little spatula will do it. Let's get the edges. See, let's make these. I'm going to make these into 9 pieces. Again, let's cut down like this. Oh. Again, if this happens, just run it under hot water. And I've got my paper towels over here. Just wipe the blade. Okay, and let's go across this way. Okay. There we go. Okay. Oh, don't those look great? Here, we'll put one in the middle like this. You can also cut them like this across. I've seen this done on plates and just kind of tile it like this across the plate and just giving you some different ideas. You could also garnish these larger pieces with chopped nuts. Let's see. Oh, let me just cut this last one into bite-sized pieces. I got these M&M candies. I think they just come out with around the holidays. So look at how pretty this looks. You know, I mean, just use your imagination, but oh, these are great. As you can see, our brownies are plated. We've got a beautiful, rich chocolate brownie here that you can be proud of and your guests will love. And again, remember, even better the next day. Here I've plated my graham cracker brownies in bite-sized pieces. I think these are best like this because they're very rich and ooey and chewy and gooey. So let me sample one of these. Terrific. I want you to enjoy. I want you to have fun with baking. And thank you for joining me in my kitchen, and I'll see you the next time on Linda's Kitchen. Thank you.